Welcome to the Breakdown Hockeytown podcast. I'm your host, Curtis, and we have one of my longtime friends, special guest, wings enthusiast, Jack, joining us. Thank you for joining as a special guest, Jack. I appreciate you coming on here and doing the show with me. Um,
Yeah, thanks for having me.
yeah, of course. How's the life at GV going?
Oh, it's going pretty good. Been watching some of the Wings games here and there. Unfortunately, the only games that I've actually fully watched, they've lost. So hoping that'll change. But
Yeah, I know
other
you're.
than that, it's been pretty good.
Yeah, you're going. I know you're going to the Preds game on Wednesday, so please bring
Oh
us
yeah,
a win. We should win that game.
I would hope so.
Anyway, we'll get started here. We'll get straight into our first period of content. We're going to talk a little bit about goalie struggles. Right now, the Red Wings tandem is Cam Talbot and John Gibson. Some numbers for you if you're just listening. Cam Talbot's record is 9-3-0 with a goals against average of 2.79, save percentage of 0.893, and goals against total of 33 let in on the season. Comparing that to John Gibson, he has a 4-6-1 record with a goals against average of 3.47 a game, save percentage at an 8.70, and goals against 39 on the season. So, um, as we look at that, if anyone has watched the Wings, goaltending has been pretty low. It has not been up to par, specifically with John Gibson. So I just want to ask you your opinion on the John Gibson situation right now. Jack, what do you think?
Well, considering what we pay him, like we pay him roughly 6 mil a
Yeah, around
year, right?
six. Yeah, something like
Yeah, and Talbot's around 2 to 3 million. I mean, Talbot's played 12 games and let in 33. Gibson's played 11. He's let in 39. That stat alone is kind of brutal. I mean, we need some numbers out of him, especially if we're thinking about flipping Talbot later and having Kosa come up from the Grand Rapids Griffins. Then
yeah,
we need some productivity out of him.
100%. Yeah, and we'll get to dealing Talbot here in a little bit later on the show. But I mean, but when we acquired John Gibson in the offseason, he was the guy, man. He was going to be our starter or 1A. He was going to take 50, 55 starts. So
So
Cam Talbot could be a solid backup. But right now, Talbot's your starter. And at 38 years old, Cam Talbot won't be able to play 55 at a high level. So you need John Gibson to step up. Um, and I know I said a couple days ago that Sebastian Kosa, go through his stats real quick. So he's a 5-1-0 record with goals against average of 167, save percentage of 940, and goals against 10. So if you double that, that would be around where Gibson and Talbot have played there. Or if you double that, that's how many games they've played, which would be 20 goals. So significantly less than both of them. I know I said a couple days ago that Costa would be up before Christmas. That was kind of an emotional statement. But what is your what is your opinion on Costa coming up and potentially being a third just to stir up the room for a week? How do you feel if the Wings decided to do something like that?
I'd really like that. I'd like him to come up in maybe a game that doesn't matter as much, maybe a game like the Predators, for example. Like a
Yeah,
team like that, I think that'd be a good stepping stone for him. Just kind of have him come up for one game, let him get acclimated a little bit, and then when it comes to right around like that midwinter All-Star break, maybe have him fully come up in case we end up wanting to flip one of our goalies and we can actually like keep him up.
yeah, 100%. And I even think bringing him up just to give even Gibson a shock. Like I know because of the way it's set up, Talbot having 1 year left and Gibson having two. Kind of the summer plan was Gibson and Talbot would run this year, and then Kosa would back up Gibson next year. That was kind of where the thinking of the fans were. Um, but I wouldn't mind seeing Kosa up a couple games this season, even earlier on than later, just to kind of give Gibson a boost, kind of saying like, if you're not going to perform, we got guys that can, kind of thing. But then
For sure.
again, I know the Wings are going to give Gibson as many chances as possible just because he needs to be the guy for the next coming years. So,
Agreed.
yeah. Got anything else for the goalie issues we got going on?
Um, no, not really. I mean, it doesn't help when your defense isn't as good, so some of those numbers might not be as accurate as they can be.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, when you're paying a goalie of 6 mil compared to 2 mil, you expect him to make some of those saves compared to not.
exactly. 100%. All right, well, we got a transition here. We're going to go into some players that have been exceeding expectations and some players that have been below expectations. So we're going to start with exceeding expectations to this point in the season. I know you mentioned Emmett Finney. We'll let you talk on him, but a few stats on him. He's 20 years old. This is his first season in the NHL. He's played 23 games with 5 goals, 5 assists for a total of 11 points, and he's got a plus minus rating of +3. So I know you mentioned Emmett Finney. What have you seen that brings him above exceeding expectations?
Well, he was a seventh round pick,
Yep.
and I think it was, what was it, 2019 or something around there. I forget exactly when he was drafted, but he was a seventh round
Yeah,
pick. You don't see many of those guys coming up to the NHL, let alone playing on the first line with guys like Dylan Larkin. Like, you just don't see that very often. So having him come in for his first year after a big growth spurt from him about 2 years ago, it's just cool to see him up there. A lot of guys consider him like the bulldog and like the grinder of the first line, but it's still
100%.
see him up there.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of surfing the internet when I was making this, and I was looking at like seventh round draft picks. I want to say the number was like roughly 30% actually end up making it to the NHL after being drafted. And then these are rough numbers. I don't know the exact ones, but I believe like under 12% end up playing meaningful games. And for Emmett Finney to come in, play on the top line with Larkin and Raymond and be productive. By the way, he's really fast. He might be one of the fastest guys on this team.
Yeah, he's ridiculous.
But yeah, I know for him to come in as a seventh round draft pick, skip the AHL, come right into the NHL, I mean, you can't ask for much more out of a 20-year-old that was drafted in the seventh round that probably even shouldn't have made it to the league, let alone playing the
Yeah.
top.
I mean, there was speculation of whether he was even going to make the team this year, let alone playing on the top line.
Yeah, I know. I know coming in, he wasn't on anyone's radar. It was like Danielson and guys like this, but Emmett Finney kind of came out of nowhere. But man, do we need that low key?
It was a good shock.
Yeah. And then transitioning to the back end, 34-year-old Big Ben Sherratt. He's played 23 games, 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points, and a plus minus rating of +3. And for being a 34-year-old slow guy, he's been, I think, exceeding expectations. I brought him to the table just because, I mean, he's playing on the second pair. Gotten hard deployments. He's been solid. And I know last year he played like a 33-30-year-old defense or 33-34-year-old defenseman, but this year he's playing like a 29-30-year-old defenseman, and you love to see it. Like he's creative with the puck. He's been solid defenseman. He's not afraid to punch someone in the face if they go after one of the young guys. He's been playing on that line with ASP, so I know teams have targeted ASP just because he's a little bit smaller and he's not afraid to go up to them and kind of give it back, if you will. But what have you seen on a bench shot this year that you like?
Well, I feel like he hasn't been a complete liability on the back end, which has been good. I mean, looking back even last year, he was like, for the listeners, I don't know if you guys have been watching hockey for a while, but Jonathan Erickson a while back was an absolute liability. He would just kind of turn over all the pucks, and he didn't really provide any kind of incentive or positives to the team. And that's who Sherratt reminded me of a lot last year and the year prior. But this year, he just kind of is playing more like a big defenseman who can get some shots on goal if need be. And he's really being like a good role model to the young guys. So I think it's great that he's had a good turning point.
Yeah, and I want to highlight one of his 2 goals. I know he only has two, but it was 2 games ago, I believe. We were down 3-1, and there wasn't. It was kind of a stagnant stalemate game, and he, off of a loose puck, he put it in the back of the net, which really gave the team a jump, and we ended up winning that in overtime. So, um, the 2 goals he's had were actually pretty big goals in big situations. They weren't just garbage time goals. So yeah, I mean, you can't ask for much more out of Sherrod at 34 years old right now. Hopefully, he keeps it up. We kind of need him to, with our back end being as thin as it is. But
Oh
um,
yeah.
anything else for exceeding expectations between these two guys?
No, I think covered it.
Perfect. On to below expectations for this hockey team. I after some deep thinking, I wasn't sure who I wanted to do because I know there's a bunch of guys. I mean, even like Hall and Gustafson, who didn't even make the roster, you could put in this category, but I wanted to do someone that's a little, more on the radar. But Marco Casper was my pick. He's 20 years old, second year in the league. He's played 23 games with 3 goals, 0 assists, total of 3 points, and a plus minus rating of -11, which kind of ugly, not going to lie. But I know last year he was one of the best guys down the stretch after Four Nations, especially when Larkin was playing through injuries. I mean, that top line really got beat up during Four Nations. They weren't producing much after that. And Casper came in and was kind of lighting the world on fire. And for him to come in this year and be, I know normally there's like the sophomore slump, if you will, but this has been a pretty big slump, and he kind of needs to get out of this slump if we want any chance at playoffs. He needs to be that 2C that he was playing as last year. So, you have anything on Marco Casper to add?
I mean, yeah, I mean, he was a great second center line. I mean, he came out, he was a young guy. He looked real promising last year. And this year, I mean, he's been moved around all everywhere. I mean, he was playing second center, he's been playing third line winger, he's been playing winger on like the second line, even third line center. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's not like we haven't tried to make it work. He's just not producing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing more to it than that. And the guy doesn't even have an assist, and he's a center. That should say a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, he's been bouncing around the lineup. He started as second C where he finished last year, got a couple of goals there, not too many. Bounced down to third line winger. He's been third line center, and he's even had shifts on the fourth line, which is you kind of hate to see that out of your guy who was supposed to come in. I know last year there was talks he was going to be a 40, 50 point guy this year. That's just not going to happen. I mean, we're a quarter of the way into the season. He has 3 points. So he's on pace for what? 12, 15
Oh,
points. That's tragic.
yeah.
And he's been on the ice for 11 goals against, which is rough.
Also brutal.
Yeah. But I have full confidence he will figure it out. Just he's a good player. He's a dog. He's a grimy player. I believe he'll figure it out. It's just time will tell. But our second pick, I know you brought him up, Albert Johansson. A couple stats on him. He's 24 years old, also second year in the league. Played 23 games, 0 goals, 2 assists for a total of 2 points and a plus minus of -8. So why did you bring him to the table, and why do you think he's below expectations this year?
Well, especially as a defenseman, that plus minus rating is a lot. I mean, it really tells a lot about your game. The points and the assists are nice add-ons for sure, but when you see your plus minus as a -8, it's pretty brutal. I mean, last year he looks pretty good. We all had a lot of hopes on him. He had high potential, and then this year it kind of looks like he's got that not necessarily sophomore slump because he's not a sophomore, but kind of looks like he's having that slump, kind of similar to Casper.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just a team-wide slump going on or if it's just individual. I don't really know what it is, but it's been kind of brutal to watch.
Yeah, he's been tough. He's been borderline like unplayable at times, except you have to play him just because, well, you don't have to play him, but
Better than Hall.
yeah, that's true. I mean, we're not going to bring Hall up. I know Gustafson has been called up. He probably won't see the ice unless there's another injury on the back end. But yeah, I mean, for a guy he's playing sheltered bottom or sheltered third line minutes. I mean, he's playing, I don't know the exact amount of minutes, but against like probably their third and fourth lines at most times. And he has a -8 rating. That's just unacceptable on the back end, and he has to be better. It doesn't help that he's getting paired with Hamonic all the time, but don't
Yeah,
even
no kidding.
cheaper version of Hall. That's what he is. But anyway,
Second that.
yeah. Anything to add before we transition here?
So credit Casper. I mean, he's been brutal, but he hasn't exactly had a lot of support on his lines either. I mean, the second line he did a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
even when he was with Kane at the beginning, Kane was he's been slumping this year too. I mean,
Yeah,
there just hasn't been a lot of productivity outside of the first line. And even then, we're still kind of struggling up there.
yeah. I know Kane's numbers. Kane's numbers wise looks good, but the eye test just he looks off. I know he was playing through an injury. The
Sure.
last couple of games he's looked a little better, but definitely a drop off from last year.
For sure.
But that being said, we got to transition into our third period of content with a couple of potential trade rumors that have been filtering around, potential moves the Wings can make. So we're going to start off with between Edmonton and Detroit. This one would be Detroit dealing Cam Talbot at 2.5 million AAV to Edmonton. Has 1 year left on his deal. In return, the thing I just read online in an article, potential would be like a 26-year-old James Hamblin. Why you've never heard James Hamblin's name is because he has been in and out of the NHL and in and out of the lineup. So, kind of comparison, I would say, was like Jonathan Berggren, like last year or 2 years ago, where he's kind of down in Grand Rapids. He's up, he's down, broke into the lineup for a couple of games type thing. But dealing Cam Talbot, you won't get much of a player, maybe a third round pick with that. That's also what I saw. But this is the one I kind of brought up. I was like, depending on how desperate Edmonton is at the deadline for a goalie, maybe you can get your second and fourth round picks back that you dealt for John Gibson, which would kind of be a net zero trade, if you will, between the two. But yeah, what are your opinions on this trade, Jack?
I would prefer the second option, definitely. I mean,
100%.
we don't really need a James Hamblin or like another Jonathan Berggren in a sense. We already have enough guys that are like that that are fighting for those roster spots.
Comfort.
I'd rather have a guaranteed second round pick that in 3, 4 years time we'll have the same issue that we're having now, which is a great issue of
Mhm.
too many prospects and we don't know what to do with them.
100%. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Um, I mean, second round picks are still pretty highly thought about. So Cam Talbot would have to be playing good, and Edmonton would have to be desperate. I don't really see Detroit making this trade unless we're out of a playoff spot or significantly far out of a playoff spot, or Gibson significantly picks it up and Kosa is still good. Those are kind of the only two scenarios I can see this happening. But if the Wings are in a playoff spot like they are now, come the trade deadline, I think they hold on to him and push for the playoffs because that is more important than getting a James Hamblin. Let's be honest.
Agreed.
Anyway, that's going to bring us to our second trade, our blockbuster trade. You're going to see some names here that are pretty popular. So I'll let you get your first opinions out first. So let me know what you think of this next trade between Vancouver and Detroit.
Well, to be honest, I was looking at this one earlier. I think Quinn Hughes is honestly worth a little more. I mean, he's a crazy player. He's
Oh yeah,
super quick. I mean, he holds down the defense really good. Not that you can necessarily relate this to the actual league, but even in like game NHL, he's rated at 96. I
yeah,
mean, you don't see guys like that hardly ever. Like he's a top line like franchise player. So
yeah. He's a
you gotta give a lot for him. I mean, and I know that first round, I'm pretty sure ASP was a first round pick as well. I don't remember what Danielson was, but
Danielson was also Pelika and Danielson. I think went like 6 and 12. They were both first rounders that we had,
yeah.
if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken.
But and do you know when Quinn Hughes was taken? He was
Uh,
a first. I just don't know when.
no, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not sure. 26,
Yeah.
probably. Like,
But anyways, having three like fairly solid first round picks versus a guy that's like I mean, he could have technically been first in his draft class the way he's playing.
100%.
I could see where you could say it's a fair deal, but I don't know. I still feel like Vancouver would be out on top, or that we would be out on top on this deal, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I got a couple of stats on Quinn Hughes, just to
Okay.
spit out, just for the viewers and the listeners, so they can kind of gauge. So he's on a $7.85 million AAV contract that runs through the 2026-27 season. After I was doing some research, and as of now, he's projected between 16 and 18 million dollars after for his extension. So that is pretty hefty, but obviously, I mean, you're paying for a superstar in the league. Um, his career stats, he has 451 games played with 61 goals and 369 assists for a total of 430 points from a defenseman. And um, 24-25 season, he had 76 points. In the 2023-24 season, he had 92 points. So he's a high production defender, which you don't see too often. And he's also great defensively, too. So it's not like a Shane Gostisbehere who can produce an offense but lacks defensive ability. He's just an all around superstar. And I agree with you. I don't think Sandin Pellikka, Nate Danielson in a first gets it done. I think you're going to have to add. I think a trade might look like Pellikka, Danielson, maybe like I want to say like maybe Lombardi and a first. I think it's going to take a lot to get Quinn Hughes if he
Yeah,
even
I
becomes
agree.
available.
Yeah.
But could you see the Wings making a trade for him though if he does become available and has interest in Detroit?
Would that be prior to the extension or after? I think it would be a big
Yeah.
difference.
Um, I have been seeing. I know he wants. There's been rumors that he wants to go to the Devils to play with his brothers. But if there's,
Right.
I know he's also played in Michigan and lived in Michigan before too. So if there's like any sort of chance he becomes available, like outside of New Jersey, you have to make it happen. I think, unless it's like absurd, like you're giving up like five prospects and a first rounder. But like I mean, deals like this just don't happen. And if you have an option at it, you gotta go out and get it.
Yeah.
Probably gonna
You
overpay
don't see
it.
guys like that traded very often.
Yeah, I mean, the last one we saw was the whole Miko Rantanen situation, and that was crazy. But
Yeah, no kidding.
yeah, but all right, and we'll transition into our third trade, our third and last trade of the day. Nashville and Detroit. I know you brought this trade up potentially. Holla or Steven Stamkos. Steven, right? I think it's Steven.
Yeah, it's Steven.
Steven. You could probably substitute Stamkos in here too. Both have been below average on the Predators because they have a below average team. He's 35. He's on a $3.15 million AAV, and this is his last year on the contract. And I couldn't really find too much on like a potential like exchange with Detroit that might suffice, but I was thinking like I know the Wings have been unhappy with JT Compher. Fans wise, I don't know how they view him inside of the league or inside of the team, but I was thinking maybe trade JT Compher away. He's got 3 years left on $5.1 million AAV. Potentially retain 1.5 if that's what it takes to get done. Um, and we also could get a 6 round pick back, but you could cancel the 6 round pick if you take off the 1.52, but that'll get you probably similar to JT Compher production for less the price and 2 years off the contract too. So what is your opinion on this trade, Jack?
I mean, I would like this. I'm not the hugest fan of Comfer. I mean, he was kind of a emergency signing a couple of years back when we just needed some veterans to help those younger guys out when we were kind of in a slump.
Yeah.
Um, Paul is a pretty good third liner that he can produce, which is something we need. We need that third, fourth line depth that can produce some numbers. And I don't know his numbers from this year, but I know he has a pretty good shot.
Yeah.
Um, Additionally, I would even think about doing like Holla for maybe Cop in a sixth, like Andrew Cop. I
Mhm.
think that could be a fairly good trade for both ends too.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. I think, either Cop or Comfer. I chose Comfer just because he has an extra year. Cop
Sure.
only has 2 years, JT has three. I was thinking it would bring them some stability and length, and it would get an old guy off their roster and give them some chance to rebuild. I mean, JT Comfer wouldn't be a long term solution, but he would be a solution that would get them through the next couple of seasons, starting their rebuild. And he's also, um, didn't he win a cup with,
With the
yeah, the
Avalanche,
Avs? I think he was on that cup winning team. So,
he has won a cup. I think it was with the Avalanche.
so he has that cup experience he can bring to that team, which unfortunately hasn't brought it to Detroit, obviously. But Maybe he just needs a fresh restart. So
Hopefully soon.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anything from this last trade you got?
Um, Not too much. I mean, if Stamkos were to be in there, even though he's been underperforming, like Stamkos for Holla, I think we'd have to put a little more on the table than
Yeah.
just Comfer.
Yeah.
I think we'd probably have to give maybe Comfer and a third or maybe a fourth, something around there is kind of what I would think.
I agree. Even though he's older, he has the history.
Yeah.
And from what I've heard, I know his numbers aren't there, but he's still playing a good game. So
Yeah. I mean, I think he's 35, so he's still got some years in him.
yeah. Yeah, he'd be an older vet to come in and play a year or two, but
Yeah,
I could see a world where it works out.
I could too.
All right. Well, it's going to wrap up our content for today. Thank you for tuning in to the Breakdown Hockeytown podcast. And we will see you next time.